Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, should we start with the prayers?
Mm-hmm.
Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
All right. Did you want to read the first verse or?
You can read, Prabhu.
Okay. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, verse 20, chapter 20, verse 33, the creation of the fourth order. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tatvam Kuru Maya Dishtam Apramata Prajapate Madadesha Karo Loka Sarvatrap Noti Sobanam. Translation. My dear King, O protector of all, O protector of the citizens, henceforth be very careful to execute my orders and not be misled by anything. Anyone who lives in that way, simply carrying out my orders faithfully, will always find good fortune all over the world. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sum and substance of religious life is to execute the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one who does so is perfectly religious. In Bhagavad Gita 1865, the Supreme Lord Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakta, just think of me always and become my devotee. Furthermore, the Lord says, Sarva dharmam parichakya mamekam sarvanam vraja. Give up all kinds of material engagement and simply surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 1866. This is the primary principle of religion. Anyone who directly executes such an order from the personality of Godhead is actually a religious person. Others are described as pretenders, for there are many activities going on throughout the world in the name of religion, which are not actually religious. For one who executes the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, there is only good fortune throughout the world. So, as we see here, continuing on, and Krishna is saying that he should be very careful, that Pritha Maharaj needs to be careful to follow his orders and not be misled by anything. And if we live like this, following the orders of Krishna through the spiritual master, then we'll find good fortune all over the world. So it doesn't matter where we are, as we read yesterday, whether we're in hell or in heaven or here in the earthly planetary system or the middle planetary system. It doesn't matter where we are, we'll find good fortune. In other words, we'll be spiritually situated, and it won't matter what situation we're in. will be happy, actually happy, and content and focused on surrender. Actually, I was reading a quote today where Srila Prabhupada said that we can pray to the Lord to help us to become surrendered, even if it means putting us into an uncomfortable situation. Whatever it takes, we can pray to the Lord to help us surrender. So that's a devotee. He's willing. He's quite willing for the Lord to put him into any situation, as long as he's able to surrender and remember the Lord. That's the main point. So, materially speaking, it doesn't matter. That's not the important issue or the important point. Materially speaking, it doesn't matter. Spiritually speaking, we want to come to this point of surrender, and sometimes it means being put into difficult situations, awkward situations, intense situations. And if the final result is that we surrender to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, I know I just have to chant properly. I know I just have to follow everything. And that's to our benefit. And that's great mercy by the Lord when that happens. So, whatever situation we're in, we should always give thanks to the Lord every day and say, thank you, Lord, for arranging everything here and allowing me to chant your holy names, allowing me to serve you in some way. Thank you for, arranging all that. So we're thankful for the good situation that we're in, or the fortunate situation that we're in. And when we're in a less fortunate situation, we're still thankful because we can understand that now I can see how unsurrendered I was, and now I have to become surrendered. And then when we do that, when we take that step towards the Lord, He reciprocates. He can just pull us out of any situation and put us into another situation, or He can remove things from our life that really is causing a disturbance in our minds, or He can add things into our life to make us more Krishna conscious. So the Lord can make all these arrangements once He sees that we're surrendered, and we just say, "Okay, Lord, I know what I have to do," and just start actually doing it, not just talking about it, but actually doing it practically. The Lord, things can just change so quickly. Things can go away that were previously bothering you. I know myself, in certain situations, certain things sort of bug me. And if I just let it go and just say, well, it's not important, it's just be tolerant, be a devotee, you know, uh, accumulate these qualities, and then everything's fine, and then you realize, well, there was no point in even thinking about all that, because I didn't, it's nothing. It's not important. So ultimately, when we leave this body, we understand that the body is not important, and everything else that's connected with the body, if we have a house or if we have wealth or whatever it is, we can't take any of that with us. So we understand that that's all not, when you leave your body, you're not thinking about the next card payment. You know, you're thinking about your body and the fact that your body's going through this process of death, and that the temperature of your body is very high, and so all these things are, you understand at the point of death are unimportant. But if we can understand that before we leave the body, then we can have a very good chance of focusing on the Lord, because we've already discounted all these things as unimportant. It's just a body, it's just material energy. I have to be able to think of the Lord or chant the holy name or think of Prabhupada or think of something connected to Krishna, and not this body or this situation I'm in, which is temporary. And, just like you give up one apartment to go to the next, you're not thinking about the previous apartment, you're thinking about the next one, or you're involved in the next situation. So if we're always trying to follow these orders given by the spiritual master, ultimately given by Krishna, then we don't have to worry about material life at all, or material situations, because we'll be free from that. All right, that's about all I can think of to say for that one. If you wanted to make a comment, or if someone else wants to make a comment.
Thank you, Prabhu. I appreciated, like you saying, that once we begin to surrender, the Lord can completely change everything. So that's true, because He's always the supreme controller. I also see Ruchi Mataji has joined. Hare Krishna, Ruchi Mataji.
Did you want to read the next verse, or someone would like to read the next one?
Ruchi Mataji, Hare Krishna. I can read, Prabhu. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Vainasya Rajarishe Pratinandarthavad Vachaha Pujito Anugrahitat Vainam Gantum Chakre Achyuto Matim. Translation: The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead amply appreciated the meaningful prayers of Maharaj Prithu. Thus, after being properly worshipped by the king, the Lord blessed him and decided to depart. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Most important in this verse are the words Pratinandarthava Vachaha, which indicates that the Lord appreciated the very meaningful prayers of the king. When a devotee prays to the Lord, it is not to ask for material benefits, but to ask the Lord for his favor. He prays that he may be engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet, birth after birth. Lord Chaitanya therefore uses the word Mama Janmani Janmani, which means birth after birth, because a devotee is not even interested in stopping the repetition of birth. The Lord and the devotee appear in this material world birth after birth, but such births are transcendental. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord informed Arjun that both he and Arjun had undergone many births previously, but the Lord remembered everything about them, whereas Arjun had forgotten. The Lord and his confidential devotees appear many times to fulfill the Lord's mission, but since such births are transcendental, they're not accompanied by the miserable conditions of material birth, and they are therefore called Divya, transcendental. One must understand that the transcendental birth of the Lord and the devotee. The purpose of the Lord's taking birth is to establish devotional service, which is the perfect system of religion. And the purpose of the birth of a devotee is to broadcast the same system of religion or the bhakti cult all over the world. Prithu Maharaj was an incarnation of the power of the Lord to spread the bhakti cult, and the Lord blessed him to remain fixed in his position. Thus, when the Yeah, thus when the um, king refused to accept any material benediction, the Lord appreciated that refusal very much. Another significant word in this verse is Achyuta, which means infallible. Although the Lord appears in this material world, he is never to be considered one of the conditioned souls who are all fallible. When the Lord appears, he remains in his spiritual position, uncontaminated by the modes of material natures. And therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord expresses the quality of his appearance as Atma Maya, performed by internal potency. The Lord, being infallible, is not forced by material nature to take birth in this material world. He appears in order to re-establish the perfect order of religious principles and to vanquish the demoniac influence in human society. So, this is a very beautiful verse which summarizes the birth and activities of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So, it's how the materialists use the world and how a transcendentalist use the world are entirely different, and it's not so easy to understand the difference unless we are graced by the mercy of a devotee who changes our perspective about this world. And here Maitreya is narrating this story to Vidura, and he's saying that the Supreme Lord very much appreciated the meaningful prayers of Prithu Maharaj. And what is very significant in the whole purport that Srila Prabhupada is speaking is to understand the meaning and nature of the Supreme Lord and his creation. Now, from a materialistic viewpoint, especially people, I'm associated with many people from India. I'm sure this consciousness also pervades other parts of the world. But what I have seen growing up is that everybody prays that they can avoid distress and they can enjoy material happiness. That is usually the general prayer. And it comes in various shapes and forms. Oh Lord, like, please remove my debt. Oh Lord, please give me a car. Oh Lord, please give me a house. Oh Lord, please give me children, a good wife, give me happiness. So these wishing for material things and material happiness is one of the significant consciousness of a person who's ignorant of Krishna consciousness or his relationship or complete relationship with the Supreme Lord. So here, because Prithu Maharaj is a pure devotee of the Lord, he is not asking for any of those material benedictions. In fact, the entire purpose of material world is not to search out for material happiness by asking for, okay, I don't want a headache, I want to be liberated from this bodily inconveniences, from my mental inconveniences. I just want peace, I want prosperity, I want happiness. So these are all like the hankerings of a person who's lacking his knowledge about the Supreme Lord. So here Prithu Maharaj, because he's a pure devotee, he does not want any of those material benedictions. He's just praying to be engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet, birth after birth. Now, one may think like, this is a very, this is theoretical, this is not true. It's not like that. A person who has experienced the sweetness of serving the Supreme Lord will only want his devotional service birth after birth, because devotional service is so potent. One does not have to individually pray that, oh my Lord, like, I don't want this distress, that distress. One it has the ability to naturally transcend all the inconveniences that are posed by nature, all the inconveniences that are posed by the mind and the body and other living entities, by rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And therefore, a devotee, he is very much situated in his relationship with the Supreme Lord through the process of rendering service to him. For him, it's only meaningful to ask for his relationship with the Lord, not for any of the other things. And the acharyas who have written devotional texts again and again emphasize about that point, that one who renders devotional service to the Supreme Lord is capable of transcending all miseries of this material world. And the Lord actually, he descends into this material world for this very purpose. He says that anyone who remembers him, who takes shelter of him, he comes to remind them of their relationship with him. So what that means is, he gives us the process of how to again feel or palpably experience our relationship with him. So as devotees, like we may not have seen like, especially like, going back to my own life before I became a devotee, I did not know that the way to have a connection with the Lord is through chanting his holy name, through reading the scriptures, through having the association of the devotees, to having prasadam of the Supreme Lord. I had like very, very tiny little experiences of going to the holy places of the Lord, with my parents, and other small experiences, but it was not vivid and clear. It's still not vivid and clear, but through reading Prabhupada's books, through being in the association of devotees, we can now appreciate more and more that these processes that have been given by the Lord and by the acharyas, these are pathways for us to experience our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And when one begins to experience the relationship that they have with the Lord, everything else fades. Everything else fades means that whatever inconveniences that the body and the mind are posing, they begin to fade. And it is possible even for people like me, anybody, any of us, the more we become surrendered, as Rasirasika Prabhu was sharing in the previous purport. So here, actually, the birth, some non-devotees who have not understood or studied the Vaishnava literature, they speak of the Lord as an ordinary living entity, like any of us. They say, oh, Lord Ramachandra also came, and because of his past karma, he was separated from his wife and he cried pitiably. Or they say, oh, like, we do not know like what kind of birth Krishna had. He was born in jail and he was separated from his parents, and he lied. He was flirting with the gopis. He was. So people speak like that even about the Supreme Lord, because they do not know the deeper purpose of his descent. And for a person who does not understand the different energies of the Supreme Lord, his purpose of descending into this material universe, they all have something to say about the activities of the Lord. But it is only by the mercy of the acharyas that one can deeply connect with the purpose of the descent of the Lord. The Lord comes for 4 purposes. Paritranam sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So the three purposes are to establish religious principles, to uplift the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, and to re-establish religious principles. So these are the three principles for which the Lord descends. And how can a person who has descended only to re-establish religious principles disobey religious principles? Like the Lord's dealing with the gopis is not something that we can equate with what we see between a man and woman of this world. It's entirely different. Similarly, when the Lord comes again and again and takes birth, so-called birth, into a human form, like Lord Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, or Vamanadev or Nrsimhadev, we cannot say like the Lord had to come and take birth like one of us. It's not like that. It's not that karma forces the Lord to take birth in this material world, which is the case with many of the Jiva souls like us. The Lord is beyond karma. Actually, he is in fact a master of karma. It's the material energy works under him. Whatever activities the Lord performs are performed in the internal potency of the Lord. It is his energy, both the external energy and the internal energy are his energies. But the way the Lord acts and the way in which living entities are forced to act are significantly different. And Prabhupada used to give very good examples to illustrate the point. So supposing he used to say, like, if the president of the country one day decides to visit the jail where all the prisoners are kept, the prisoner should not feel that the president is also one of the prisoners. It's not true. The laws that apply to the prisoners who are within the walls of the jail are different from the president. The president, at his will, can leave the jail at any moment, whereas the prisoners, they have to abide by the rules before they have to complete the term of their prison before they can leave the prison. So Krishna's coming into this material world is for our benefit. He is not coming here to suffer the consequences of his karma or to learn his lessons. He's coming actually to uplift other living entities and make them realize, make them experience the sweetness of the relationship that they can feel or experience with him. And by attracting them to himself, especially the pious living entities, by attracting, they become attracted to the activities of the Lord, and that takes them out of the prison-like material world. So whenever the Lord descends, he is not one of us. He is not fallible, contaminated by the modes of nature. He's not at all like one of us. And this is the most significant thing as devotees we can understand about the Lord, because the non-devotees cannot even perceive that such a thing can exist, that he could be beyond the modes of nature, that he's not one of us. He's not bound by the laws of karma. They cannot understand it. They say, oh, like, Lord Ramchandra also had to suffer, so we also suffer. We cannot bypass the laws of karma. So this is very significant in Vaishnav teachings, and as devotees, it's very significant for us to understand that the Lord is not like one of us. We are like, he's in a completely different category, and he is the supreme controller, and everything works under his will. And at the same time, he loves the living entities so much that he comes again and again into this material world just to be able to take them back to the spiritual position. And if we can just understand this one thing, because Prabhupada used to say, if in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that if one understands the that my appearance and disappearance from this world, they are transcendental. If one can just understand that, he can easily come out of the cycle of birth and death. So as devotees, this is the most significant thing that we can understand. First is that the Lord is not like one of us. He is infallible and we are fallible. He is the controller of everything, and we are small tiny controllers. We are ruled by the external potency of the Lord, and the Lord is always performing activities in his internal potency. And we have a relationship with the Supreme Lord, and that is the entire purpose of our existence. Our purpose of existence is not to become happy in this material world. That is the biggest misconception. The goal of a devotee is not to become peaceful in this material world. The goal of a devotee is to develop all the qualities that is required for him, all the lessons that he has to learn, but basically like all the qualities that he needs to have to transport himself into the spiritual world. And even though a devotee is like acting like one of us within this material world, his position is very unique. He also comes to impart or distribute the teachings that are given by Krishna. So we can say, like, how Krishna came, how Kritu Maharaj came, how Vamanadev came, how Lord Ramachandra came, and even devotees of the Lord, like how Srila Prabhupada came into this world, is not like how an ordinary jiva comes and struggles in this world. They come only for one purpose: to re-establish religious principles, to give us the path to go back to Krishna. So, yeah, I really felt like this verse is very significant. So, if anybody else would like to share.
Yeah, I thought this part here was interesting. The beginning of near the end of the purport, where it says the purpose of the Lord's taking birth is to establish the devotional service for the world, and the purpose of the birth of a devotee is to broadcast the same system of religion all around the world. And we saw that, perfectly in Srila Prabhupada. And that Prithu Maharaj was an incarnation of the power of the Lord to spread the bhakti cult, which is also an important part of that purport. He's actually an incarnation of the power of the Lord to spread the bhakti cult. And because of that, he got the blessings of the Lord to remain fixed in that position. Okay, shall we move to the next verse, or let's have a look?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. What would you like to do?
Ruchi Mataji, would you like to read? I don't know how big is the next verse.
It's medium sized purport.
Ruchi Mataji, would you like to read, or?
Maybe we can leave this for tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do like that also. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think she's busy with something.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you very much. Thank
Okay.
you for your association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.